However, ultimately, you cannot argue somebody. You know, at the end of the day, the way I saw this process for me was I had a lot of intellectual objections. This is the process through this friend coming alongside of me. This happened to me in real life, where I would ask him questions, he would give me answers, and it was a dialogue. And what happened was slowly I began to open my mind to the possibility that maybe this is true. Maybe. I don't know that it's true. No one's proven anything to me. But the very idea that my mind opened up meant that my heart could open up a little bit, that I could be open to the idea that maybe there is a God. And I think what happened is that it sort of paves the way for God to come in, because ultimately God has to be the one who comes in. It can't just be a rational process.
Did you drift into faith, or was there a tipping point?
There was a tipping point. There was a tipping point.
Tell me about that.
Happened? Yeah, what happened was, I think it was over a course of a number of months, I had my intellectual objections cleared away. Now, the same thing happened to William Wilberforce. I was amazed when I wrote the book Amazing Grace, at a very similar thing. It was a long process of asking questions and finding that, you know, gosh, there are answers. And it's almost uncomfortable when you think, like, you know, I'd never thought of that, or I'd never thought of that. And to realize that I'd been in such a secular world, mainly at Yale, but then in Manhattan and New York City, surrounded by people who didn't know the first thing about these things. So finally, to talk to somebody who had a lot of answers, I was amazed. I thought, okay, so I guess I was wrong about that, I was wrong about that. So slowly, it's this process of getting closer and closer to realizing that this might be true. But then something happened. And the thing that happened was I had a dream. I went to sleep one night, as I do almost every night. I fell asleep, and I was for a period unconscious. And it was during this unconscious period that I like to call sleep, that I had a dream. Now, I don't, dreams are not scripted. We don't, at least mine aren't. They just sort of happen to me, because I probably didn't mention it, but I'm unconscious at the time.
That's right.
And
most of us are when we sleep.
And this is a dream. I actually don't dream very much at all, but this is a dream that it seems to me quite clear that it was from God, that God revealed himself. And it's a long story. I should put it on my website. There's a video that somebody made recently where I talk about this. But it was an amazing dream, sort of a mythic dream in which, without any question, God reveals himself to me as Jesus. It was a mind-blowing, one-off event. And I had no doubt in the dream that this was true, that Jesus was Lord, all this stuff that, you know, you can't make up. And I woke up, and it was like, I joke around, I say it was like going to sleep single and waking up married. It was pretty dramatic. I mean, the next day, I knew that what I had sort of hoped was true. I knew. And it's like meeting somebody. It's like, you know, do you believe, you know, so-and-so exists? And then you meet them and you talk to them, and then somebody tries to say to them, you know, oh, so-and-so doesn't exist. And you say, well, you know what, we can talk about that, but I just had breakfast with him. We talked, so I'll humor you, I'll talk to you, I respect your doubts, but I've met the guy. And that's kind of what it was like. I had absolutely no doubt. And after that happened, you know, I had a peace and a joy which absolutely I had never had in my life. And basically, from that point on, I have had a desire to share what I've experienced with everyone else, because it changed my life. It gave me hope and joy, and all those cliches that you hear about. Well, that's what happened to me.
You're describing something here that's supra-rational. I mean, this is revelatory.
That's exactly right. It's both rational and extra rational, or supernatural. It's not anti-rational. It's not irrational. But rationality will take you so far. And rationality took me sort of to the edge of the cliff, but then God has to come by in a hot air balloon and take me up. I can't leap, you know, across the canyon, but it did take me to the edge of the canyon where I could be picked up. Let's put it that way, to mix metaphors here. But I really did feel that this was something that was so beautiful and so true, and I've clearly never been the same. I mean, it's 22 years now, and I have to say that you know, having these questions, I want to honor people's questions, because every human being who's created in the image of God, and that's pretty much everybody, we have questions. We're built to want to know, who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? Is there something beyond? I mean, all of this stuff is built into us, and I think we need to honor people's questions.
You know the old adage, a man with an experience is never, I should say a man with an argument is never at the mercy of a man with an experience. what you're describing here is an interesting kind of synergy of both experience and argument.
Yeah.
It's
right.
not either or, it's both and.
Right.
I mean, wasn't Lewis who said Christianity is a thinking man's religion? It really...
I think it was Perry Como.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, Perry was deep.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
He was really mellow. In fact, I think he was Canadian. Was he Canadian?
He was, yeah. There's a lot of Canadians who are mellow.
I did not mean to bring up Perry Como in this interview.
A lot of
apologize.
lot of humorists are Canadian.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's definitely true.
A lot of comics are Canadian.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I do feel, in all seriousness, I think humor is very important. In all of these books, I use a lot of humor because I really think that people need to know that this doesn't need to be deadly serious. Searching for the truth, it could be the most joyful, fun thing. And I also think that humor disarms people. They realize, if you don't take yourself too seriously, maybe I'll listen to you, because otherwise I can't deal with these religious freaks that they're so serious that, I don't have the time for that. That just makes me nervous and uncomfortable. I want to have fun. And I think, we should be able to enjoy the process. If we really know these things, then why not have fun talking about it? And why feel like we have to be so nervous, wringing our hands, I've got to prove this to somebody? You don't have to prove it to anyone. Yeah. God is. And if I don't have all the answers, well, the stones can cry out. I don't need to have all the answers. I can just relax and enjoy the process. I really think that how we approach these things is as important as what we say. It's not about having all the answers. God forbid that we come across as know-it-alls who have all the answers. And these books, even though they have the ridiculous title, Everything You Always Want to Know About God But We're Afraid to Ask, they don't have all the answers. It's about this dialogue. So
now you've been influenced, no doubt, by some remarkable people, both in terms of your personal direct experience, but also through some of your research. I'm thinking specifically of Colson, I'm thinking of Wilberforce, I'm thinking of Bonhoeffer. We're going to talk about Bonhoeffer in a future interview. But talking about Colson, now here's a guy who went to prison because of his involvement in Watergate. And as you point out, or someone points out, maybe it's you, really came to faith before he went to prison. It wasn't while he was in prison.
I always point that out because people, it's the standard thing. People say like, oh yeah, sure, he went to prison and he found God. Well, it's like, no, he found God before he went to prison. In fact, that's one of the reasons he went to prison, was because after he met God and he knew that God was real, he thought, well, I want to now tell the truth. And part of that was telling the truth about what happened at Watergate, which is what put him behind bars. But I had the privilege of working for Chuck. I would consider him a friend. He is, you want to talk about proof of the existence of God? 2 words, Chuck Colson. He is proof. Anybody who has experienced Chuck Colson, what he has to say, what he has to write, he's the real deal. And that's all you need to see. He's the best argument. I have to say that as soon as I came to faith in 1988, I started reading his books. And that's part of what, I thought, how come I've never heard of this stuff? There is so much to be said for the existence of God, for the truth of the Scripture, for the Lordship of Jesus Christ. I'd never encountered this. So I got excited. I started reading all of these books. And I wanted to put what I found in a book for my friends, basically.